Xiao Yan gaze slowly swept over the 10+ snow-white jade boxes in front of him. He gently inhaled a breath of air and suppressed a ripple within his heart. With a flick of his finger, the enormous thousand-beast cauldron appeared out of nowhere. It heavily landed on the ground, emitting a low and deep gong sound. Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes. The refining method and the various things to take note of when refining the Zong breaking pill once again flashed across his mind. A while later, he opened his eyes, and a jade-green flame rose within his dark black pupils. Puff! A jade-green flame sprang from Xiao Yan's finger with a sound. He then flicked his finger and the flame transformed into a ray of light that entered the medicinal cauldron in a lightning-like manner. The flame had just entered the cauldron when its small size suddenly expanded. Within a short instant, that tiny flame transformed into a fierce fire that wildly burned within the medicinal cauldron. Following the increase in size of the jade-green flame, the bright red surface on the thousand-beast cauldron became a more eye-piercing red. At a glance, the cauldron appeared just like a cluster of dancing flames. This medicinal cauldron left behind by Ha Feng is indeed not an ordinary thing. Despite being grilled by my heavenly flame so many times, it is still able to remain fine. Its quality might even be comparable with that black demon belonging to teacher. A satisfied glint flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes while he muttered to himself. There was not a single crack line on the thousand-beast cauldron despite having used it so many times. Xiao Yan waved his hand after the internal temperature of the medicinal cauldron reached a certain stable temperature. A snow-white jade box that was emitting some chillness was sucked into his hand. In the jade box lay a withered tree branch that looked like it had been carved from ice. Although this thing did not have an attractive appearance, the rich medicinal fragrance that it emitted allowed one to know that this was not an ordinary thing. This item was known as the cold marrow twig. It was not an actual tree twig but rather something that was agglomerated from pure freezing energy within an extremely cold place. If a person practicing ice-type Do Qi were to refine and absorb it, it would cause that person's Do Qi to become even colder. Hence, this thing could be considered priceless in their eyes. Xiao Yan was only able to obtain it because he had luckily entered a cold pond deep in the mountains. However, he was wildly chased by a magical beast hidden there, a beast that was about to break into the 7th rank, for over 50 kilometers before he managed to successfully flee. Xiao Yan's fingers held the cold marrow twig with 2 fingers, and a bone-piercing chill swiftly followed his finger and seeped into him. It almost caused his entire arm to become numb. Xiao Yan's eyes glanced at his hand covered in thin pieces of ice. A thought flashed in his mind and the jade-green flame within his body swiftly flowed over, swiftly expelling the coldness that had seeped into him. Xiao Yan's hand gently tossed the cold marrow twig accurately into the medicinal cauldron. The jade-green flame suddenly surged and swallowed the former like a savage mouth. Ads by Pub Future. The cold marrow twig did not simply await death in the face of these flames. It emitted unceasing waves of cold air in an attempt to block the erosion of the high temperature. The cold air and the jade-green flame eroded each other. A faint, white fog rose from the point of contact amid a chee-chee sound. This cold marrow twig relied on its cold energy that it had gathered over a countless number of years. It was actually able to engage in a stalemate with the glazed lotus heart flame for a short period of time. It is indeed worthy of being something that would cause a magical beast of that rank to go all out to protect. Xiao Yan quietly clicked his tongue and praised when he saw this scene in the medicinal cauldron. His mind immediately moved and the temperature within the medicinal cauldron rose. The cold marrow twig was finally unable to endure after being burned by the high temperature of the flame. The icy crystal-like appearance of its surface began to show signs of melting. Exio Yan softly sighed in relief upon seeing this scene. It was thanks to his heavenly flame. If it was an ordinary flame instead, it was likely that just refining this cold marrow twig would need 1 to 2 days' time. If that was the case, not only would it waste time, but it would also exhaust his Do QI. A heavenly flame did not lose to a genuine magical weapon from an alchemist's point of view. The refinement continued for an hour or so before the stubborn cold marrow twig finally transformed into a viscous snow-white liquid. The liquid circulated and emitted an extremely rich, pure energy. Exio Yan spent another half an hour after the completion of the refinement to finish the hardening step. He did not rest after he finished this. With a movement of his hand, he threw another similarly stubborn medicinal ingredient into the medicinal cauldron. Time slowly flowed past in the tightly sealed secret chamber. The medicinal ingredients in the jade boxes in front of Exio Yan gradually diminished. A rich medicinal fragrance mixed from the medicinal ingredients lingered in the secret chamber like a cloud. Exio Yan's expression became more and more solemn as the medicinal ingredients were gradually refined. He knew that the steps still left were the truly troublesome ones. This song-breaking pill could be said to be the highest-tier medicinal pill that Exio Yan had ever personally refined. Therefore, the chances of success were quite low. The song-breaking pill could be considered top grade even among tier 6 medicinal pills. A pill of such tier might not have much use to a genuine Dowzong, but it was able to attract many large factions into fights in order to obtain. After all, as long as one possessed this kind of medicinal pill, there might be a chance that their sect would gain an additional elite Dowzong. For those factions who focused on inheritance, it possessed an allure that no one could resist. Just think of this Black Emperor sect. One could understand such a mindset by just looking at the amount of natural treasure that they had spent over the years in order to groom Moya, this junior sect leader. Of course, the ingredients that were necessary to refine this song-breaking pill were rare. If Exio Yan had not relied on Zedai Yan's treasure-seeking ability during their half a year of travel to obtain quite a fortune, it was likely that he would have been unable to gather these ingredients. Despite this, Exio Yan had only gathered 3 sets of ingredients during this half a year. In other words, Exio Yan only had 3 chances to refine this song-breaking pill. If he failed every attempt, there was no telling when the next time he would be able to refine it again. Ads by Pub Future. The little flame withered and a jade-green light landed on Exio Yan's unusually solemn face, causing him to appear exceptionally cold and stern. One by one, the precious medicinal ingredients made their way into the medicinal cauldron from Exio Yan's rising and falling hand. They were immediately swallowed by the flame. Time quietly flowed by like sand while the flame churned. Dense beads of perspiration began to faintly appear on Exio Yan's forehead. A day long of unceasing refinement was strenuous for even him. This time around, Exio Yan had nearly poured all of his spiritual strength into the medicinal cauldron. Any unusual activity would be discovered by him immediately. Under this high degree of scrutiny, the many medicinal liquids within the medicinal cauldron gradually began to merge. The merger proceeded while Exio Yan felt a great nervousness. However, it was fortunate that nothing went wrong this time. When the medicinal liquid fusion was complete, a gorgeous liquid that was half a fist large began to appear within the medicinal cauldron. Xiao Yan did not sigh in relief within his heart while he studied the mixture of the liquid body of many medicinal strength. His mind was still tense as his spiritual strength controlled the flame to a perfect degree. He slowly reduced the temperature and allowed the many medicinal liquids within the liquid body to completely solidify. Around half an hour after the liquid shrank and solidified, the surface of the liquid body began to gradually harden. An embryonic medicinal pill with an uneven surface was slowly formed. Xiao Yan finally tossed aside the large stone that weighed down his heart when he saw that the embryonic medicinal pill was successfully formed. The most difficult steps had already been completed. All he needed to do now was to maintain the flame, keeping this embryonic medicinal pill warm and nourished. After which, the Zong breaking pill could be considered to have been successfully created.